Hey ladies, this is Mocha Mommy here bringing you another video, and in this video I really want to talk to you ladies about just possibly the origin of a lot of the vitriol and a lot of the difficult narratives that we're hearing online, all right, from our black male counterparts. I just really want you ladies to understand where it's coming from, because when you understand where it's coming from, then you can better navigate it. So I understand that what we're seeing on YouTube and in social media as a whole is very disturbing. But I want you ladies to lift your eyes up from the screen a little bit, and I want you to get a global perspective of what's really happening right now with the black male collective. And even though I will never condone their behavior, I will never condone their behavior. There is a legitimate concern. Okay. I will never condone their behavior, but I do understand the concern. So, my family and I are watching the Olympics. Well, a lot of the rebroadcasts of the Olympics, of course, because of the time zone. But the night of the opening ceremonies, my husband and I were in a sports bar. And we were watching the opening ceremonies, and we saw Naomi Osaka with the colors of the Japanese flags braided into her hair, the red and the white. And she ascended what was an electronic replica of Mount Fuji and lit the Olympic torch. And there were two patrons in the bar. And one patron says to the other, "Why is her last name Osaka? Isn't her mom the one that's Japanese? What about her dad?" And he says to the other one, "Well, her dad's probably not around." And then they went right on back to their conversation, went right on back to their drinks and their buffalo wings. And it really just gave me a perspective that here on this global stage, people who are watching this event is basically seeing absentee dads. Now, those of us who know Naomi Osaka knows that her dad is very much involved and he still is married to her mom. But globally, the perception is that they're absentee fathers. So at this year's Olympics, no fans are allowed in the stands. Also, no family members are allowed to attend to support their respective athletes. So what you don't see is NBC kind of putting a microphone in the face of a family member who's standing by to really talk about how proud they are of their athlete and to share that moment. What we're seeing are like Zoom calls and of families of maybe prospective high schools, of some of our athletes being simultaneously broadcast alongside the medaling ceremonies. And African American athletes have amazing representation in the US Olympics, as we always have. But now that they're spotlighting whole families instead of just the family members that make it to the stands, we're really seeing that there are not a lot of dads of these exceptional athletes who have created these exceptional legacies for themselves and are breaking records for the United States in many cases. We're not seeing dads. We're not seeing dads. And another thing that we're always also seeing is areas where we've had dominance, right? Men's sprinting and basketball. We're seeing losses and other countries eclipsing what we've dominated for generations. So we're seeing a lack of black male dominance in areas that they pride themselves on, especially the areas of masculinity. And we're also seeing on a global stage their absenteeism. Even just thinking about the men's 100-meter final, it was won by a man from Italy, Marcel. And basically, they told a little bit of his story that he was born in El Paso, Texas, to an Italian mother, and then the Italian mother took him back to Italy. So, a lot of us who were military automatically thought, like, okay, so this is a very common story. He probably was stationed in Vincenza, brought her back to Fort Bliss, and what happens, right? And then she took him back to Italy to raise him as an Italian citizen. it's just globally, it's showing the light that African American men are uninvolved, and also showing that they're lacking dominance in areas where they generationally have had superiority. Although I understand um, losing dominance in what defines your masculinity being sports and culture, I will never condone the behavior, especially that of Gen X black men. We are really seeing um, Gen X black men, particularly, come face to face with their own mortality. We've seen the untimely deaths of a lot of the catalysts of culture. Black men in the 90s pretty much changed the landscape of urban culture and hip hop culture as we know it. So when we see the Shock G's, the DMX, the Biz Marquies, the Black Robs die broke and of preventable illnesses, it really does bring to light their fear of mortality. And it also is frustrating to me to see that they don't use, Gen X black men don't use their large platforms to really discuss the prevalence of preventable illness in the collective of the population. It's frustrating to me that they don't use they use their platforms to degrade and create these false narratives rather than talk to and help each other discuss the realities that they're facing health wise to help them come to terms with their mortality. So we have the portrayal of the absentee father. We have the loss of athletic dominance. We have the coming face to face with mortality. And now we have the coming to terms with erasure. Now, even though I do not condone in any stretch of the imagination their behavior, I do understand where the backlash is coming from. I do not condone the behavior at all. But let's just look at Disney Corporation, okay? The largest producer of children's media products globally, okay? We're having the live action remake of The Little Mermaid, and I'm really excited about it. I'm so proud of Haley Bailey since Disney's Next Big Thing 2012. Since Sugar Symphony album, I have loved these girls. My girls have been a fan of these girls. So I'm really happy about it. I have high expectations. Lin Manuel Miranda did an amazing job with the Mary Poppins remake and also with Moana, right? The soundtrack to Moana. So the film adaptation of Hamilton was amazing. So I have high expectations. But we have to also look at the fact that here we're going to be celebrating this Black princess, but yet her love interest is not going to be a Black man, and neither is her father in this film. They've cast Javier Bardem from Spain as Ariel's dad. So we are looking at, again, their erasure as the love interest and as the father in a multimedia global Disney production that is most likely going to not just be released in theaters, but straight to people's homes. So we're going to see an increase in the amount of accessibility for Disney's media consumption. And they're basically not a part of the picture. So Disney's not stopping there. We saw the teaser of what will be the live action remake of 101 Dalmatians. We saw who they cast as both Anita and Roger. Furthermore, they've announced the remake of Cheaper by the Dozen. The mother will be cast as Gabrielle Union and the father as Zach Braff. So again, we're seeing the world's largest children's media corporation pretty much erase them in the role of husband and father. And they're doing this with no fear of financial or social ramifications. Because if you really look at Nielsen ratings, Black men are not really heads of household where children's media is consumed. So again, Disney is able to do this with no fear of financial or social ramifications. Black women don't own the Olympics. Black women don't run the Disney Corporation. Black women do not control the healthcare system. So, all the systemic problems that Black men are facing, Black women are not the source of it, and the criticism is unwarranted. So, when you think about the reality of what's happening globally as far as our image as Black women, how much weight do you think 1 million subscribers for the student content creator really holds? This is your opportunity to dream bigger and to live freer and to really shake off the dust of the unwarranted criticism that you are at the receiving end of. Because when you close your screen, the world is a bigger place. This is Mocha Mommy, and I'll see you in the next video.